Yes, the report was late today. As you know, we set up an ad hoc committee. They went to Edo. They spoke to the warring factions, if I may call them that. And the report was late and considered today. And the contents of the report are very clear. And I think what we did was to stick strictly by the rules and by the laws that guide the assembly and us as lawmakers. And so, yes, one of the recommendations which I believe was approved by the House was for us to have a proper proclamation with date, venue, and time, which was missing in the first proclamation. And that's it goes without saying. And I think they have about a week to come up with a proper proclamation and proper election of the principal officers. And if in a week we do not, nothing changes, then perhaps at that point in time, the House and I believe the National Assembly as a whole will look at invoking the provisions of Section 11 of the Constitution.
What about Bauchi?
Bauchi, we're waiting. I believe they concluded today. I believe the members who went to Bauchi will be back or on their way back to Abuja, and I'll wait until I get their report.
Apparently, that was the Speaker of House of Representatives there responding to questions about what will happen with the Edo State House of Assembly crisis going forward. And he's talking about recommendations and some necessary steps that should be taken given the circumstance in which this House of Assembly has found itself. This position, even by the opposition, that's the PDP in those states, has been described as shameful and embarrassing. But beyond shameful and embarrassing, the question is how much of implications does it have for democracy and for governance as far as this state is concerned? Remember that a lot of elements caught up, as it were, in this conversation about the crisis at the Edo State House of Assembly. But let's begin to unbundle now by way of having a very, very deep sitting and far-reaching discussion about it. I'm joined by Ahmed Mahmoud, who is a public affairs commentator. Thank you for coming on the program.
Thank you, Ian.
And next to him is the legal practitioner, Dr. Patrick Awosaige. Thank you as well for coming. We appreciate it. I'm going to begin with you because I notice how fired up you are about all of these issues, not just because you want to talk about it on television, because you're also affected as a citizen of this state and someone who is resident here. Incidentally, again, this isn't the first time we will be talking about this crisis. Between when it started and now, what really have been your sentiments?
Thank you very much. I know we are in a democratic system. And everything we do must be done democratically. And we have rules of, laws. We don't just jump into things without considering the fact that there is a third tier of government. We have the judiciary and things that could play out. Now, I have looked at it, with much pain and sadness in my heart that it's happening in my state. The crisis started like a joke, but as it stands now, although both parties' warring factors have said we are not quarreling, there's no problem between us. The APC national chairman, the person of Comrade Adams Aliyu Shomole, have said, no, there's no problem. The governor have said so, but the body language, we're seeing the Cold War and seeing all of this snowballing into a mega crisis that we are evidencing today. Now, if you look at it from the beginning, yes, we talked about the inauguration. This constitution is clear about it. Section 105, sub 3, said the governor, as soon as he's, sworn in, he could, make proclamation for the, inauguration of the assembly, which he did. Now, the fact that some other persons are arguing, why will he do it at a time like that, or why were other persons not put on the no? And they have also argued the same way that we did. We notified them. We said we were not notified. There were actually 9 of them, and they were inaugurated, and that was it. A speaker emerged in the Okiye, and the other parties have gone. All they have said, you guys come and be inaugurated. You come, they said, no, we are going out of town, we are going to Abuja, we are going to cry out, and all this stuff that has played out. Okay, are you now saying the governor should go over it again, like the House of Assembly is saying to him, conduct a proper, you are not saying what he did at Benin show, he didn't do well. They also brought issue of June 15th and June 17th, that, the inauguration was, the proclamation was done on the 17th after they have inaugurated the house. So that's some issues. Now, in as much as you have all of these evidences, I honestly believe it's not using the instruments of government to show who is more bloody and strong, as it were, calling on DSS, or rather DSS and the Nigeria police, IG, sealing up the house and all whatnot. We know it in recent past, things like this happen. When we have factions in the house, some for the sitting governor at the time, in the person of Adam Solow, interestingly, it was him that was governor then, and then we have these two factors. When they sealed up the place, they only moved their sitting to the House of Assembly, or rather to Government House, to hold their sitting there. So basically, what I'm saying in essence is, to me, I honestly say that it doesn't really make any sense to me, because if you have any reason to complain, you go to court. Oshomole have told the Edo people and Nigerians and everybody that cares to know that he's a court man. He believes in the courts, the rules of the courts and the courts. You now go back to court. Instead of now saying the House of Assembly. Now, the House of Assembly, where I listened carefully to the chairman of that committee that was set up to look into it, and he was talking about order. They are giving them 1 week, of which they take over and all of that. I was just wondering, how could that happen, in a democracy?
Is that out of place?
It's out of place in sort of, because you are saying something, there are issues in court already. So why not allow court to decide? Okay, why are you coming to say you would take over, and then nobody has said there's crisis in the states, and then you are talking about you taking over because it belongs, or some persons, are not comfortable with the way it went. I agree, hold on.
Yes.
I agree with me. I know you have said he raised issues. Bajabi Amila had said, the timing, and they were not properly, and it was not done well, and all of that. All this put together, if you take a look at the Constitution, was the formalities and the way at which it will be done. It only said immediately the governor is sworn in. Even if you had done that 10 days after,
yes.
If you feel you have issues with that, I think the courts have the rule and the power to decide on who is right or wrong. If the court, they should go to court. That's my own take.
I'm going to follow up with a question. I was going to talk to Ahmed now, but let me ask you a follow-up question, because you're a lawyer. There's a court order restraining the APC national chairman, the NWC of the APC, I mean the entire party as it were,
yes.
The DSS and the police from interfering on any level, in any way,
yes.
by any means,
yes.
with proceedings at the Edo State House of Assembly.
Yes.
What should that be saying to us ordinarily? I mean, in light of that court order, are we supposed to be having these developments as unfolding in front of us?
That is what I'm saying. I said the national chairman of APC have told everybody that he's a man that believes in courts. After all, his mandate was got.
So are you saying we're jumping the gun here?
Obviously. So that's what is happening. We should wait. If there's an order restraining you, you go back to court and vacate that order and find ways to get back.
So until that is done, status quo remains. That's what it means.
Orders don't last forever. Basically, there are time frames for all of this.
Yes.
So it could be revisited. Now, if you have a genuine reason, if you are restraining me, then I should come to court and let the world know. But if you now try to hide under some executive powers and some structures that you have, then something is fishy. Then it's beyond what we are saying. It's not just about this. Someone said, well, it was not proclaimed properly. Now, okay, for instance, let me just ask a very simple question. Okay, what stopped them from going to that same house and be inaugurated? If you don't like the face of the speaker, you have the number. You could impeach the speaker. You even have the number. You could impeach the governor. Why not do it that way? So what is really the benefits of trying to come out? That's the angle I'm looking at it from.
Okay.
You can still achieve the aim, even without this many ranting or jumping around.
So we can avoid the drama.
You can avoid the drama. We could avoid it.
Okay. You talked about angle. Let me see Ahmed's angle on this issue, because it will appear there are too many conflicting elements in this conversation. Let's try to downplay the conflicts. How do we do that?
So let's correct some inconsistencies in my co-discussant's narrative.
Okay.
The actual position of law, morality, and ethics is that one arm of government cannot impose its will on the other arm of government.
Right.
The three arms of government are supposed to be co-equal partners in moving the country forward. Now, we are not reinventing the wheel. We've had democratic practice since 1999. This is 2019. This is about 20 years of the practice. So some certain standards have already been accepted. We have 36 states in Nigeria. Governor Obaseki has pitted himself directly against the Constitution. It has nothing to do with Oshomole or anybody else. The Constitution requires that you invite every bona fide member-elect of the House at a stated, it's a constitutional requirement. It's not at the whim of the governor. It will tell the members when to assemble, how to assemble, and then carry on from there. Now, where there is a conflict, as we are witnessing now, one arm of the government, which is the judiciary, will not come and stop the perfectly constitutional functions of another arm of government. What this means is that the National Assembly is the parent, is the mother of all the state assemblies. And so when they find that there is a problem in one, it is their constitutional responsibility to address that issue, which is what they've done. How did they address this issue? There are 36 states in Nigeria. Only 2 have a problem with the inauguration of their house. Bauchi, 2 speakers emerged. In Edo State, a nocturnal inauguration was carried out, which is entirely unacceptable in 2019.
That has also been, that has become a very controversial issue. Well, the time at which the inauguration was done.
No, but in the wisdom of the members that came.
We have the inauguration?
No, the members from the National Assembly.
Okay, the members of the committee?
Yes, they listened to all sides.
Okay.
They spoke to the clerk, they spoke to the members elect who were in opposition, they spoke to the ones that were inaugurated, and these facts came out. And you see, you cannot build the truth on a lie. We need each of those members elect represent somebody. And you cannot disenfranchise one of them to the benefit of any of the others. So let us have a simple and level and transparent playing field. This document that we are talking about, that proclamation, is a public document. It's a document for historical records. It's a document that you can look at in 4 years' time and say, such and such and such is how this happened. So we need to put things right and let things come out properly. This is the minimum acceptable standard.
Let's talk about a few other things about standards.
Can I react to something?
You are going to react. In fact, you're going to have your day. But the point is, it will appear we have too many double standards when it comes to politics and governance in this country. One time, certain, as it were, event is unfolding, is favoring a political party, favoring a few individuals, and it sounds like, I mean, that should be the ideal thing. And then tomorrow, there's a flip, and then the same circumstances are favoring someone else from the other side, and this other side is crying foul, and so on and so forth. Whatever is happening now, some persons have argued, quite frankly, is a reflection of the weak system of governance that we have, not just in this country, but precisely in Edo State, isn't it?
Well, politics is a constant strive to improve ourselves, to improve governance, to improve the lives of the people that are governed.
Is that the reality now? Are we improving?
We have to believe that the system is improving itself. We have to keep on trying. As soon as we give up, that is when real chaos sets in. There are structures that are set in place, and they are supposed to regulate conflict. So we have to believe that those structures will come out with a better definition of whatever conflict is arising at any given time. And this is where we are. So the most important thing, I think, is that there hasn't been, fortunately, there hasn't been any, apart from when the members-elect were attacked by thugs the other day, there hasn't been any physical altercation. We now have a system that is trying to self-regulate. And that's always a good thing in a democracy. People are talking, and this is what we want.
You wanted to react to something he said.
Now, he talked about the mother umbrella of the National Assembly coming in, as it were. Where were they before? When Adams Aliyu Oshomole had a faction and took some of them to government house in all of this. and it succeeded all the way. I'm not trying to say what is wrong. We should keep.
No, that's exactly what you are trying to say.
Excuse me.
We're in 2019.
Don't interrupt me.
You interrupted me.
Don't interrupt me.
But you interrupted me.
I'm not trying to say
you. That's exactly what you are trying to say.
No, you're going to have your time. Let him finish.
Let me speak. On national television, so we should allow ourselves and keep our decorum. Now, I'm not trying to say that you should do the wrong thing.
Make it a standard.
Make it a standard.
Right.
Now, the point I'm making, the Constitution is here, sir. This is section 105, sub 3. It says, subject to the provisions of this Constitution, the person elected as the governor of the state shall have power to issue a proclamation for the holding of the first section of the House of Assembly of the state concerned immediately after his being sworn in, or for its dissolution as provided in this section. Now, the point I'm making, that the Constitution has stated that it should be done immediately. There's no time.
That's inauguration.
Yeah, inauguration. Now, there's no time tied to it, because there have been some argument that it stayed 10 days.
So the window had elapsed?
Yes. No, there's nothing like that. Okay. Now, again, that, the time in question, there's no tied to time.
As to whether it was done during the day or night?
During the day or night, because there are sections.
But there has been a very strong argument.
Yes, it's been. That's why I said it is not within the ambits of the National Assembly to determine. If you have something like this, you try it in court. So he's not saying that it's mother and daughter or father and son. That is not the case now. If a father takes up a knife and stabs his son, will they say because the elders in the family should resolve the crisis? That has become a criminal issue.
Yeah.
This is a governor.
So it's beyond the family now?
Yes, it's beyond family. This is a governor elected. He's a sitting governor with immunity. He has the powers of a governor. Now, if you have issues with him, forget the National Assembly, go to court. And they are still saying that, you can still come back. You come and get inaugurated, and that's it. My take is that if you are saying he has not done well, you don't have the power to correct him. Who are you to correct him? You go to court. That's why we have the courts.
Okay,
that's the point I'm making.
I'm going to make you talk about this a little more, but let's remind our viewers quickly that the number for you to call so you can lend your voice to this very topical issue we're talking about on the program this morning will be on screen very soon, and then you can call to make a contribution. But remember, please, when you do call in, you have to be as civil as possible. This is not an opportunity to slink mud or cast aspersions or make spurious allegations. The point is just calling, make a decent contribution, talk about the issue, stay on the issue, and then let's enlighten ourselves and add to knowledge on the program, right? But let's talk a little more about this issue of the House of Assembly and so on and so forth. A very precise call is being made now.
Yes.
On the governor.
Yes.
So make a fresh proclamation, and lawyers like yourself have
said that wrong with the proclamation I made before.
That's on the one hand, but even lawyers like yourself have referred to the law.
Yes.
Right or wrong, to say the law does not even support a second proclamation. Why so?
Now the issue is this: you can't say what you have done. That's why I said all these talks should be done in court. Instead of calling him tomorrow, they say, he did. Then he admits that what he did before was wrong. How could that be? If you are not comfortable with it, go to court. The governor have done all he needs to do. If you are saying, well, he didn't do it well, you have papers from June 15th and June 17th issue and all of that. You put them, all your exhibits, and take them and fine, go to court. And when you get to court, then the judges or whoever presides decide what become the order. So it's not for you to sit down and feel we can use police, use DSS, come off it. We are bigger than that now.
Let me come to you again, Ahmed. This is a serious standoff, obviously. We can only pretend about it, but in the end, it stares us in the face that this is a very serious standoff. The question is, in the event, for example, that the house was taken over by the police and the DSS, what do you picture the scenario will be like?
It's a very simple scenario. It's a matter of
how
law
simple
and order. It's as simple as, like I said, we are not reinventing the wheel. The proclamation has been written by 34 other states without any conflict, stating the date and the time of the inauguration. Governor Obaseki decided he wasn't going to do that, and that is what is causing this conflict. So now when the house is taking over, it will be done properly. It's only a constitutional requirement that the governor should put forward that proclamation. It doesn't go beyond that. And it's a very simple exercise. That if that is done, everybody will now come to equity, each of the members equally, and then they will proceed under the supervision, clearly to be under the supervision of the House of Assembly. Because at this point in time, they need outside supervision to carry this process logically to its conclusion. So it's not a difficult thing. The federal government is going to be, the National Assembly is going to be involved, and it will take its child to proper birthing.
Yeah.
Each of those members has an equal right and equal standing in front of the law, and then they need to come out together and be inaugurated.
Okay, before I ask you the follow-up question, let's take one call now. Hello, good morning. Yes, good to have you on the program. Please turn down the volume on your radio or your TV set, whichever you're listening on. Okay, just go ahead and put those calls through so you can lend your voice to it. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Yes, good to have you on the program. Please turn down the volume on your television. Tell me your name and your location.
Hello, my name is Emmanuel.
All right, Emmanuel, where are you calling from?
I'm calling you from Benin.
Okay, go ahead and talk to us.
Please, over the issue of House of Assembly of Edo State, I will really say that what Oshomole, the past governor, have done is not what it's supposed to have done.
What has it done, sir?
Everything you need to pass.
What has it done?
But I know that it was his influence as the president of the party. He has used over the House of National House of Assembly of Nigeria for them to come into power and come to Edo State and suspend every other worker, put on the military or police force to hold everything this morning in the Edo State.
I figure it will evidently be difficult for you to prove that, because the legislators, those from the Senate and the House of Reps, will tell you that there's a part of the law that mandates them to wade in circumstances such as this. So it will be difficult, almost impossible, to pin former State Governor Adams Oshomole, who is now the chairman, national chairman of the APC, to that scenario.
But you know what happened in Edo State is the same thing that happened in another state.
Another state? You mean Bauchi State?
Yes.
Okay. What happened in Bauchi State? Let's do a bit of comparative analysis.
It's not the way they are doing in Edo State. So just we knew we should be truthful in our nation, because we are not truthful. That is the problem we have, because we are political partiality. Because they are not truthful with themselves. Because if Oshomole himself was truthful to himself, Obaseki is his boy. So he was the one that brought Obaseki to us. So the same he himself, he knows how to talk to Obaseki and bring Obaseki to understanding of
Thank you so much, sir. We appreciate it. Let's take one more call before I get back to the guest in the studio. Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, good to have you on the program. Your name and location, quickly. Okay, go ahead and talk to us.
Yes, this issue, I think that's very simple.
You have to turn down the volume on your TV set. If possible, turn it up altogether.
I see it as a very...
Okay, let's get back to the guest in the studio. That has also been an issue for a lot of people. They keep saying, how come we're paying little or no attention to what's happening at the State House of Assembly in Bauchi, where those state appears to be the focal points?
Well, that's not true. They showed it was in the news the other day. Another committee was mandated to go and find out.
Also do an investigation.
Do an investigation in Bauchi. And of course, there will be a follow-up with the Senate also. And then their findings will be taken back, and whatever is found, if they are sufficiently made a case against whatever is happening, they will now come out with their position. So Edo State is not being treated in isolation. It's taken as
let's take one or two more calls now, quickly. Just call the number on your screen and then make your decent contribution. Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Yes. All right, great. Just go ahead and make a contribution.
Hello?
Go ahead and make a contribution.
My question is, why are they distracting about it?
Please, can you project a little? We're barely hearing you.
The question is, why are they distracting about it? A party as a government of this has the right, and we have done things in line with the Constitution. So I see no reason why other persons or members of the constitution will not go to the higher authority. Instead, they would have just gone to court to protest to register their grievances. And that's where we have the court of law. Going to the National Assembly to see should be dissolved and all that. I think them give a higher power to operate the law.
All right. Thank you for your point. Thank you for your point. We do appreciate that. Let me talk to Dr. Awosaige. Fact is, I said earlier on this program that there's a historical perspective to whatever is happening today in Edo State, as far as the House of Assembly in particular is concerned.
Yes.
How do we break that jinx? Is that ever possible?
Well, like if people if we decide to do the needful, when we are not too desperate to be in charge and or whatnot, to control men and as it were, because it's all about a power show. I'm in charge, I've done this, we not get all, I'm able to do this and that. Honestly, it's rather laughable that it's a one party won all seats and they are fighting themselves. Does it not sound funny? That means, how did we come in? You know, but that's, by the way, if every elected person really came in on the platform of the intention, or rather personal intentions to really make laws and help the people, not some stooge like you pick from corners and install them like those apps you have on your Android phone, you will be able to speak for yourself. Because I see no sense in this left for me. If I were to be a member, I think the most honorable thing to do is to go back to that house and get inaugurated. That's all.
I think that
instead of, now hold on. No,
yes.
That's not to say we don't have crisis.
Yes, there is crisis, right?
Yeah, that's not to say we don't. Yeah, that's why we are there. We should discuss superior argument to have it, and not just because some persons. It's not like maybe we don't like this person or that person or these issues. Okay, what stops you from going there? Now you are talking about they are taking over. We don't want to go back to what happened before. We don't want to go back there. That's not it, because it's actually it's a total mess. It's an embarrassment. Now those that were characters, that were actors in the previous one, and they are not crying. You know, if somebody else is doing that, it will be funny. It will be okay. Now, if someone like Adams Oshomole, who was a major person in this whole drama before now, and we know. Not too long ago, we saw how speakers were being impeached. We saw that. Zakawano, Garuba, and others, we saw it. And a whole lot of drama that played out even when they cried and all of those things. But what I'm saying here is this. Obaseki have issued a proclamation. He has said this, okay, you come and get inaugurated. You said no, House of let them go ahead. If you come and it creates chaos in Edo State, then also it will be on record that you did it. Because you will not just come here and do that. There's already a restraining order of courts. And you want to go, well, forget the courts. The courts will do nothing. Oh, don't worry. After all, Sambo Dasuki have been granted bail several times from about 5 courts, and he's still being head bound. So we are used to that kind of operation, but it will be on record. But we also know the whole world is watching us. And whatever happened, at the end of the day, we, the actors, we also know there's ICC now, you know, a lot of persons are now being picked up. When you cause the death of so many persons, they are counting it, and then sooner or later they will invite you. And you can't just have it the usual way again. The era of Mobutu Sese Seko and those era, they are all gone. So we must know that the world is watching us. People are being picked on the Lagos Express every time by some miscreant headsmen, and nobody is saying nothing about that, and we are just talking here and there. And look at what is happening in the country. We are talking about coming. When there is already a court restraining order, if we ever have regard for the court, we won't even come and be talking about all of this.
There's something a lot of persons are saying we cannot look away from. They're saying this drama, as he called it a while ago, has divided politicians at the House of Assembly on the one hand, and on the other hand, it's a reflection of the divide, as it were, between the state governor, Mr. Godwin Obaseki, and the national chairman of the All Progressives Congress, Comrade Adams Oshomole. Because if you look at it today, a lot of persons will tell you those who have been inaugurated, even those who are products, so to speak, of the inauguration that has become controversial as of today, the Obaseki boys, in a manner of speaking, and the other persons who have, for whatever reason, decided to say they are staying away from the house because they believe that that inauguration was not duly carried out, are the Oshomole boys. Is there any iota of truth in that?
If by Oshomole boys you mean the people who are insisting,
they are loyal to both sides.
Well, we cannot say who is loyal to who at this point, because none of them has come out to say I am Obaseki's boy or I'm Oshomole's
would they
boy.
ever say that? How about body language?
Well, the body
about
language,
actions?
we can do an irreducible minimum, and the irreducible minimum is there has to be a standard. Like I said, and I'm saying again, we are not reinventing the wheel. A proclamation will tell you the date, the time, and the location.
Do you really think we should have a second proclamation?
Yes, we should have. It's a historical document.
So the one that was done is invalid?
It is invalid by the virtue of the fact that it was done to favor some people and disenfranchise other people. To that point, and then the way it was carried out, the time of the day, the actions, it is all unacceptable in 2019. We have to have a standard way that this thing is done so that somebody else tomorrow doesn't come and do it, that it suits him. The standard is a date, a time, and a location. That is the irreducible minimum that is required to move this controversy away from the point it is.
Okay, so while we're talking about moving this controversy away from the point it says, we're going to take a quick break now. But remember that Governor Seyi Makinde of Oyo State has declared his assets, and the governor, with assets in terms of, well, firms or companies, cash in hand, and other valuables, stands at about 48 billion. A lot of Nigerians are beginning to react to that declaration. While it is important, while Nigerians crave public, especially elected officers, to declare assets as quickly as possible, which of course Governor Makinde has done, because remember that the governor had said while he was campaigning that he would, upon assumption of office, declare assets. Others are now also saying, how do we authenticate the veracity of assets so declared? Well, we'll have that conversation just after this break. Do stay with us on the program.
The Code of Conduct Bureau is not constituted to determine what is the ceiling for any public officer to have properties or assets or even liabilities. Every public officer can engage in any investment. It is allowed. A public officer can invest. And if a public officer invests and makes money, who is Code of Conduct Bureau to say that you have exceeded the ceiling? There's no ceiling. Nobody can place a ceiling on anybody. Don't you think so? We do have some public officers who declare what we call anticipatory declarations, but they are usually cut up. There was a time we had a case of a governor who gave us that kind of anticipatory declaration by saying that he had built a house of so much value, only for us to get there and discover that it was just at the foundation level. So that means that he anticipates that by the time he runs out of office, or by the time he completes his tenure, he would have put up a building to that standard. But we discovered it. And so that frustrated it. And that is the essence of verification, whether it is field or whether it is conference. Because you follow conference with field verification to actually see. And we don't actually see only, we also take pictures. And they are documented. They are scanned to the site of the public officer.
Sam Saba is former chairman of the Code of Conduct Bureau. They're giving us some insight as to what the process leading up to the declaration of assets is like, and a few of the technicalities, or if you like, intricacies associated with that process. Ahmed, I'm going to start with you again this time, talking about declaration of assets. One of the very fundamental issues often canvassed about governance in this country is transparency.
Yes.
And a lot of persons have said until those who have been elected or even appointed come out to declare their assets, that means we've not started to appreciate the need to be transparent in the way we deal with public officers. Incidentally, Governor Makinde of Oyo State has declared not just his assets, but he has done so publicly.
Yes.
especially in a bid to fulfill his electionary campaign to the people of Edo State.
Yes.
But again, this ironically has become an item, as it were, of controversy. Are you impressed with this?
My heart, I give every respect to the governor for his actions. I think he has taken a step further in transparency. And his action should be something that we should push the governors of the other states to emulate, so that we have a starting point for their stewardship, and at the end of their stewardship we're able to look back and say, this is where you started from and this is where you are, and we should be able to marry these two things. But another thing we quickly need to highlight is that in the time in between the beginning and the end, there is something else that is really antithetical to transparency and democracy. That's the security vote.
Okay.
Because at the end of his tenure, depending on the financial muscle of the states, different states have different grades of security votes. Now imagine a governor that is
Some persons have said it is 500 million monthly flats. Isn't that the case?
No, I think it depends on what the state
generates,
is able to generate, and what it feels is useful enough for the governor to carry out.
That's what's approved.
Is approved. So in a state, for example, where it's 500 million, like you have said, at the end of a year, we are talking about, is that not 6 billion?
6 billion, yes.
6 billion.
And the governor has at least 4 years.
And the governor has 4 years. So we are talking about 24 billion in a 4-year time span. So even if, for example, Governor Makinde, at the end of the year, at the end of 4 years, says, I have this so many 24 billion aside, you can't even touch that money. So there are other areas that
it doesn't account for that.
He doesn't have to account for it. All he needs to say is, this is my security vote, this is 24 billion, and that money has to go aside. And it is recognized by the Constitution. So there are other conversations that we need to have. But for now, Governor Makinde has put forward a standard that everybody should congratulate and everybody should try and emulate.
Dr. Owosage, you know, one of the issues that arose from this declaration was the volume of the figure. I mean, 48 billion. Of course, that was not just cash. It was cash in hand, stocks, firms, and a few other assets. Were you curious to know how the governor came about this accumulation? Because that was the conversation on Twitter.
That's a common thing. It's not a big deal to have 48 billion.
Okay. How easy is it?
It's very easy in Nigeria, you know, in a country like this, that you can just get into anything. If a young man jumps into politics and is out buying properties in Dubai, and what is 48 billion naira we are talking about, that's somebody like who have been studious and doing his work. What I must say is this: in as much as I applaud him, I celebrate it, I am so overwhelmed that he could do that. But it's not just giving us figures. I think they should also go on. The Bureau should also check and let's look at it critically.
Yes, the CCB says they are waiting for approval to go ahead and verify those assets that he has declared.
Yes. Which is normal.
Do the verification, and then when it's come out clean, then we can applaud him. But like my colleague had said here, they should emulate. Other governors should. You know, the president's own is 150 cows, I can remember. I don't know. The asset declaration, the president of the federation should also declare his own. I don't know about
the president and the vice are declared. But the questions Nigerians were asking was, can't we see?
We need to see it.
Yes, but again, some lawyers were explaining that the law does not mandate them to make it public. The law only makes it mandatory for them to declare.
I agree with you.
So the Bureau.
I agree with you that you say that, yes, like he just said something that is very, he said they went ahead.
Okay, so the extra step.
For the kind of character we hold in the president, Mr. Integrity, a man that came into this world with nothing, and certainly he's hoping to live without anything.
Of course, we are all going to live without anything.
I'm just saying what is credited to him as his person, which I applaud. Is what we all love to emulate.
Yeah.
I will expect him to do what Makinde, or go to the extent that, and give us more details and allow it to be thrown open, so that Nigerians will know, this man, he really is a saint indeed. So that's my own take. Not just him alone, and every other office holder, persons in government, you should come out openly. And again, when you have commissioners and ministers, they should all be, it should be what should be our working policy. Not just, okay, if I so wish I do this and that. And we also know that some could declare what they don't have. It happens sometimes.
Anticipatory declaration.
Yes. And then when you now we get into the office, you start trying to, this is where record keeping and proper, and those guys should be properly checked, because they could be giving money. I know Roberto had said the other time, a particular governor gave me XYZ money, and he said, I turned it down.
To influence investigation.
So those guys, and you know, when you are giving money you will not make in another 100 years, you are tempted to, you know, so they should set up structure that is not just tying one person, that it will be, you know, to a large extent that we could all see. I was at the post office a few days ago, so send a correspondent, and I could see somebody dipping hand and say, I can't collect your change. I was wondering, why is this Nigeria, or I'm somewhere else? She, you know, say, come and take your change. And I was a little bit, this is unusual. I used to come here before, and they don't do this. It was then I take a look around, and I could see cameras up there, okay. And I said, no wonder. So there are some checks at that level. So what I'm trying to say is this. If this declaration comes like this, let's go and check. And those checking them, like Joseph Stanley will always say,
yes,
let's monitor them too, so that Nigeria can be better.
So there has to be layers of checks.
Obviously.
Yes. You know, when the Freedom of Information Act came into force, or at least got domesticated in certain states, because it has not been domesticated across all 36 states now.
That's true.
Yes, some persons thought it was going to be a game changer for the better. But up until now, a lot of persons are still concerned and very worried that that piece of instrument has really not, to a very large extent, redefined for the better the political space. Because up until tomorrow, a lot of, one of the excuses you will find with governors and MDAs in many states is that the FOI, as we know it, has not been domesticated in their respective states. So as such, you don't have the rights to know exactly what is happening with their finances, with processes, standards, and so on and so forth. Isn't that something that should give us concern? Really?
So much concern. And that's what is, but we are happy because things are fast changing. You know, we cannot rule out the fact that we're not where we used to be, even if we have not gotten to where we hope to get to. Like what is happening in Edo State, for instance, now. You know, before now, it will be problem, fighting. You know, that has, now it's now, come on, we're not calling people in Abuja, come on, we're not looking like...
So violence is minimal.
It's minimized, and that's something we should applaud. And we really celebrate them for that, because the moment you jump on the street and start shouting, and this one, you know, and I must commend the National APC chairman too, in the person of Oshomole, you know, his usual way, he has, you know, changed from his usual outburst. He's not said so much. He's so meticulous in the way. I was like, where did he learn this new operation from? This is beautiful. And we really love that, and we celebrate it. And we also encourage warring parties. We are not here to castigate them. They are our leaders. I celebrate them. I hold them high. But I really hope, because you should know, you didn't just jump into politics because of money. You can do business and make money.
And still make money.
And make money. You are there to serve, to help the people. You should consider the children watching you while you are doing what you are doing. Like my brother has said, history is a document that is there. And tomorrow people are going to look at it.
Make reference.
And make reference to what you are the one that caused this problem. You know, things like that. They should tread softly on ground and be able to see how they can, where you can bend, when you can amend, and then you can come together as one muscle, it's just one party. So why the hula baloo, why the noise making, why the fight? So let's come back together and work as a team and get the state running. You know, we're already winning so much points, scoring so much points. You know, the party have done exceptionally well in these states. We can't rule that out. I'm not a politician. I don't belong to the political parties, but I have seen the party, APC, have done well. So I'm not attacking APC. I'm attacking what is happening. I don't have any interest in any other party. I love what I'm seeing. My office at the time was demolished by the former governor. I was happy about it. I dashed the owners of the facility the blocks are set up to do. Why? Because I was impressed at what was going on, even if it cost me so much. But no problem, we're going to get by this and move on. But the challenge we are having, these are little skirmishes of trouble that we can just put aside and push the developmental strides and ensure things work faster. Because this one we now pull us back. We are fighting. Look at what is happening in Edo State. See the standard the Absolute Oshomole set in the state. So we cannot wish that away. Even if I don't like his face, I can't pretend not to see that. He did so much. You can't go through, you know, second down, you know, drive through second.
All the way down.
Second was a write-off, so we couldn't just say, well, he didn't do anything. I celebrate Oshomole. I gave it up for him. But the truth is this, he's still the leader of the party. You need to call all of them together, and then they resolve their crisis internally. An old man told me, say, you guys should not wash your dirty linens outside, in public.
Right.
So they can sheathe their sword and sort this problem out. I don't think there's any crisis. That's why I refuse to agree there's a crisis. Let the state move forward and let everybody be at peace. You are not giving jobs to some idle people. They are now having people that should be working, that should be doing their business. They are not telling you, hey, this governor did this or that former governor did that. It's unnecessary. I honestly believe in a serene and disciplined environment. I believe you should respect those at its due, and you should do the needful. If you are a politician, you are a governor, because you are in office today, you feel nobody is your Lord again, then something is wrong with you. And if you have said, well, I will not need them again, you will still need them. One good turn deserves another. So that's my own thing.
Let's return to the issue at hand right now, which is the issue of access declaration.
Yes.
We've had cases where people got into office and did what we just referred to as anticipatory declaration.
Yes.
And then 2, 3, 4 years down the line, the CCB now discovered that there had been inconsistencies between what they had declared and what the reality actually is in terms of what they own. A lot of times we understand these people are not even punished, they are not prosecuted. Isn't that, I mean, doesn't it underscore the weakness in our institution?
Yes, but let's look at it from a different point of view. Progress, I always say progress is incremental. And then we have the minimum is you must file your asset declaration form.
Yeah.
Now, what happens after that, in most cases, is outside the hands of the individual. So what happens is you file, it is investigated. If there's any inconsistency, you are brought back to regularize it.
Right.
And that document is now stored for when you file your next one, which should be at the end of your tenure. And we have seen cases where several prominent people, for example, the former governor of Lagos State, Asiwaju Tinubu, he was brought to Code of Conduct Bureau. Asset Declaration Tribunal.
Yeah.
The same thing with Saraki, if I'm not mistaken.
CCT.
So these organs are gradually finding their teeth. They are actually now beginning to show that they have more to offer. So this kind of puts our public officers on notice that whatever it is you are declaring, you better be doing the right thing. And this is a step in the right direction. But let us also look at the right of the individual to have that information to himself, which is what the Constitution recognizes when it says the minimum is for you to fill the form accurately and submit it. Now, if you decide to take that document, which is your document, and make it public, that is another step.
Right.
But that is not a requirement. Some people feel that putting out their assets in public puts them in harm's way. It brings people unsavory characters into their business.
Right.
So we have to recognize that fact also. But if you find that there is some kind of discrepancy, the Freedom of Information Act, which you said has come into place but it's not domesticated, has been somehow circumvented by the whistleblower policy, which allows people to say, I know a little bit about this man's history, and some of this information that he's giving is not quite right. So we are making progress. It might not be in the jumps that we expect, but there is much that is going on. So we need to keep on pushing these frontiers. We need to keep on pushing our leaders to come out and be more accountable, to be more transparent in their actions, and then we will someday we'll be able to stand back and say, yes, we have done our own best. And I must say, everybody of good conscience should commend the governor for what he did, and we should try and encourage our own governors to do as much as they can to be transparent in their actions before and after governance, so that we can move the boundaries of integrity further.
You just talked about the whistleblower policy, which again has become an issue lately because a lot of persons so had blown the whistle, as it were, and are saying that they've not been paid. Some said they were short paid.
Yes.
And then we don't seem to have so much of transparency on that front. Dr. Awosage, what's your sentiment?
Well, like you see, things are going, the whistleblower not being paid, yes. It's true that a lot of them complain like that, and well, why not go? I will always say, why not go and find an action against federal government? That's your.
Should they blow the whistle louder
against the federal government?
Against them. You know, but I honestly believe the money is there, and you know, some of these organs of government and these structures, there are a lot of bottlenecks.
Right.
And
Yes.
you know, we can't wish away certain things we have taken as part of our operation. Now, my parting with 500 naira to a policeman on the road, not that I'm afraid of him. You know, it's become what we do.
Not that you even necessarily have something incriminating on you.
Yes, and not that they're even demanding.
Yes.
You know, it's just like, my brother, it's like you are so cool. And I saw one almost, take some money, take care of yourself, you know. It's not as if you had something.
It didn't even solicit.
It didn't. You know, it's part of how we live. Nigerians, we are happy people. You understand? So they believe, oh boy, they're happy, you make me still happy small. You may not say it in clear terms. And then you will be, you know, you will be saying, well, I have blown the whistle and all of that. So these are some of the little things we still find around.
Yeah.
You cannot blame Buhari for that. So if you now begin to raise, okay, they say PS is not on seat or somebody traveled and all of that.
Somebody's on vacation.
It's on vacation.
Somebody wants part of the whistle that
you know, somebody actually led you to the office that established this whole thing.
Yes.
So these are some of the things we have. But for the money, I know the government have put the money there. So the money is there. It's not for, if you go back, where will you, if you go back to complain, they will also come out and attend to you. You know, I know that is the truth. So for those persons that say, well, they didn't pay us, they should pay us, you know what agreement he entered with somebody.
Exactly.
They won't tell you that. They won't tell you.
So you don't have all the facts.
Yes. Maybe I'm close to him, he's my brother. I say, oh, you come on. This guy has this. You go and do the blowing. So that they will not know I'm the one that did it. So when the money gets to you, Uyi, remember our plans and what we did. And I can't come out to complain.
Yes.
Then if you are saying, no, because you know if I jump out to complain, he will get to know. I'll go and meet the man of the organ and meet Okamo. See as it happen. Then we now begin to do this and say, well,
so there's going to be a back and forth.
You know, they say they will not be telling him, come hold meeting with somebody because if you give me my own, I'm sending yours to you. Simple. So you'll be jumping around and then
the thing can be a little more protracted.
Very complicated.
So that is it. So, but I honestly believe in all sincerity, why will government not give you the money? The money is there.
Exactly.
Yeah. Especially when it has become a policy.
Yes.
Policy,
so that is it.
All right,
So
that's what we're leaving these two discussions for now. Thank you for watching so far, but we're not done with the program yet. We're just going to take a quick break now, and then we're back shortly to tie it up on TMI this Thursday. Stay with me.